Well. The Dom curse strikes again, but this time
Oh, it did.
it's in someone's favor. We're going to
Sure.
be talking about that because it's time for Dana White Contender Series Week 5 recap. Dominic, we had 5 fights. You want to take a guess how many contracts we had? Don't even think about it. It's 5.
Mm.
Plus
Mm.
a second chance.
Mm-hmm.
Plus a guy who was told well round your game and you might come back. I
Yeah, that was a
thought
random
I
little
thought he was
tidbit there.
about to like give the loser a contract too.
Yeah.
And instead he was just like, keep working.
Yeah.
It was
A
like,
little pep
wow,
talk.
geez. Really led him up to a whole lot of nothing there, huh, Dana? But per usual, we are gonna go fight by fight here, give our thoughts, and at the end, we're gonna do our power rankings for this week and tell you who would get the below average Joe's contract because those are the most important here.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dominic, we start with our women's fight of the evening. Dione Barbosa gets the first round submission over Rainn Guerrero. This happened 4 minutes 35 seconds of the very first round. I'm a little surprised that that's how much time had went through the first round because this fight felt a lot quicker. It was very
Mm-hmm.
fast paced, a lot of grappling exchanges between these two. Seemed like the difference maker was ultimately what ended up being the finish here, and that's that Barbosa just seemed much more comfortable to throw up submission attempts. She was much more creative
Mm-hmm.
in searching for those. It seemed like Guerrero was more so trying to use her grappling and wrestling to control or use more of her strength and yeah, Barbosa just using a little bit more of the elusiveness to kind of sneak around some of those armbar attempts and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. So, good win for her. Rainn Guerrero did have a very good story though going in. I was found myself rooting for her a little bit, so that's a tough one. But Dominic, all in all, what'd you think, Dione Barbosa?
Dione Barbosa 6-2, 3 finishes, very nice, or 3 submissions, I should say. Very nice armbar. Kind of came out of nowhere. Very good judo, obviously good jujitsu to get a submission like this. Don't quote me here, but I believe Michael Bisping said she was an Olympian. So that's quite impressive, but it makes sense when you saw the way she was doing it down there on the ground. So it was a pretty good start to the night. It's women's flyweight. We love that, and we love
Mm-hmm.
having another young up-and-comer join the back of the pack. No complaints here on my end.
Yeah, I like what I saw here on the ground from her, and if what you're saying is true about kind of that judo background, that's an interesting recipe. I'd be curious to see how she fares against, obviously, not looking too far ahead
Mm-hmm.
into the deep waters, but that she could be a pretty tough matchup for a lot of those younger women's flyweights who have kind of remained untested
I'm
up
sure.
to this point. So I thought she was someone I would have given a contract to.
Yeah.
I've kind of mentioned the whole curve thing, heavyweights, women's divisions, men's flyweight
Mm-hmm.
probably tend to get more of a favorable view, even if the performance isn't great.
Yeah.
But this was a really good performance. She had to kind of fight through a little bit of adversity, but it seemed like she was just a step ahead
Yeah.
everywhere that fight went on the ground, and no complaints.
Absolutely.
Second fight, Dominic, what a war this was. Gene
Ooh.
Silva
Mm-hmm.
gets the unanimous decision win over Kevin. Shit, I forget. It was like
They
Vallejos.
pronounced it way different than the spelling. Yeah.
Is it Vallejos?
It was not pronounced that way, but that's what it looks like. Yeah. It was
Oh,
very,
so it's
I don't
not
even
pronounced that
remember.
way.
No.
Vallejos?
I,
Vallejos?
I, you're going to
Kevin.
miss me with this one. Kevin.
Kevin. So unanimous decision win for Gene Silva. He was the underdog coming in. Kevin was the 21-year-old phenom who
Got
a
the
lot
pep
of
talk.
people were kind of excited about, expected the role here. And what we got, man, this was a back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Just I don't even want to call it like I feel like Dominic, you throw around a lot of times like the what's kind of that little term you'll throw around when a fight has this much action. You'll say like not rock'em sock'em, maybe like
Swanging and banging.
yeah, swinging and banging. And I think that would actually do this fight a disservice. I think this fight was a little bit more technically appealing
Yes.
on the eyes than like
Yes.
a Trevor Peak fight. No
Yes.
disrespect, Trevor Peak. So I thought this was a great fight. And actually, what's so funny, Dominic, is because at the end, when Dana's kind of talking about Kevin and he's kind of, in a way, sort of hinting that he might be trying to offer him something, I
Yeah,
was almost like coming to terms with the fact, like, I wouldn't hate if he had given him a contract too, or at least given him a second shot. I know this was a
I thought
war.
it was. Yeah.
It'd be a very tough turnaround to come back in like 5 weeks, but maybe offer it to him at
Hmm.
least. And
Hmm.
either way, though, I think these are both guys that could end up being UFC caliber in terms of their striking. Dana probably has a point to the lack of a true well-rounded game that was showcased here from Kevin, but Gene Silva ultimately gets it done. Seemed like, am I wrong? Because I was sort of two TVs going, so I was
Hmm.
kind of listening to my other TV, not really listening to Contender Series, but I kind of was catching the end of the commentary there. And was Michael Bisping kind of adamantly on the other side here? Did he kind of think that Kevin had done enough to win?
Not that I remember. I think it was a
Um,
pretty clear set, like 2-1
okay,
for
that's why I was like
Silva.
confused the first second. I was like, wait, is he saying?
Hmm.
Yeah, okay. Forget what I'm saying here then. But I'm glad just set me straight, Dominic.
Of
Talk
course.
about Gene Silva, talk about Kevin, and let's just move on.
Kevin, 21 years old. I did think Dana was going to offer him a second fight, and then he just kind of was like, "Yeah, you're good. You're young. We'll see you in a couple years." That's pretty much what it was.
See you when we
he,
see you.
he literally prefaced it by saying, "Yeah, I literally never do this, but," and I'm like, "Oh, wait, what's going to happen here with Kevin?" But
So
anyways,
you never just acknowledge that someone put a good performance on and then just move on?
apparently so.
I'm like, Jesus,
Oh,
okay.
but Silva, 11-2, won 8 in a row, 10 finishes. Round one, feeling out, definitely got the better of him there. Kevin did, I should say. It was still close though, but round 2 and 3 is where Silva turned it up. He
That
had a
knee.
lot of very, very impactful big shots, but not too wild, right? I think that's why it doesn't get swanging and banging. It's a technical swang and bang. New term pending, patent pending, I should say. But I enjoyed this performance. I think he was also like 26, 27 years old, so a very good age as well. Featherweight, fun, action packed. The stare down, by the way, at the start of the fight, he just stood there right in the middle of the gate,
Mhm.
looked at Kevin like he was the bad guy from Home Alone.
He looked at
Too
him like he
many.
was the wet bandits.
Welcome to the UFC, Gian Silva.
Yeah, welcome to the UFC, Jean Silva. Shout out Paris, right? Jean.
I think it was like Gian.
Yeah,
Gian.
yeah. Okay, I'm glad everybody's deciding to just pronounce names in backwardsville today. But you
Gene Simmons.
know, look, I thought it was a great fight. This is one
Mhm.
of the better fights we've had on the Contender
I
Series
thought
this
so
season,
too. Yeah.
and it's the kind of fight it goes to a decision, but it's going to earn you a contract because Silva showed a lot in victory,
Hmm.
and truthfully, it doesn't necessarily. Well, in theory, it does not set back Kevin all that much either because he looked very good in defeat here, showed a lot of
Hmm.
heart, showed a hell of a chin.
Yeah.
Although Dana did just kind of give him a pat on the back, a little lollipop, and send him on his way. It was like a kid at the doctor's office after he gets a shot. He was like,
Yeah.
I never do this, but you're the toughest big boy here for taking that shot.
Maybe we'll see him back. I doubt. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Kevin.
All right. Dom Curse showcased its ugly head again.
If it's going to work for anybody positively, at least it's the
Yeah,
Ohio
I mean,
boy.
at least it did. At least it worked for someone. At least this was
Yeah.
to somebody's benefit. Dominic using his powers for good.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
tweeted following Dylan Budka's unanimous decision win over Chad Hanekom.
Mm.
And I really got to just listen to when they're kind of
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah.
I mean, they say these fighters' names like a million times in the lead
Yeah.
up and before the fight, and yet here I am just like Budka and Hancock. Just just sounding like a complete jackass. But this fight was where I sort of checked out for
Yep.
like 20
Yep.
minutes.
Yep.
Could not tell you too much that happened. Every time I looked, there were double leg attempts along the fence. Not a whole lot going on, but Dylan does get the win. Dominic does fire off the tweet of the evening where he says, not much to say about that fight.
Mhm.
Likely not going to result in a contract, but he still put the poll up.
Of
Pretty
course.
majority in the side of no for a contract for old Dylan Budka. However, Dominic, Dana White awards him the contract. Are you flabbergasted by this decision?
I was a bit shocked. To Dana's point, why I don't agree with the contract, what he said did ring true. He thought it was a terrible fight. I believe he quote unquote said one of the worst in the history of Dana White Contender Series, only second to the entire card that Dana White hated last year, B. Joe Piper. And Dylan Buka just fought a couple weeks ago, apparently at heavyweight, fought tonight at middleweight, should be a welterweight. And for those reasons, alongside the respect that Dana had for Dylan in his story, I believe he said homeless 3 years ago, gives him the contract. He's 6-2, only 2 finishes. I respect Dana for it. I respect Dylan Budka. I respect all these people, of course. But I don't know, it just didn't do enough for me. I know it wasn't his fault entirely that the fight was bad. I don't know if that's enough to justify a contract, but Dana did it. Shout out to Findlay, Ohio. That is where Dylan Budka's from. 20 minutes down the road from where Noah and I went to college. So pretty cool.
Pretty close to where I live now, so I better be careful what I say here.
Dylan Budka.
No, obviously, like, I think it's going to be pretty clear that out of this was a good card, like in terms of performances and people you would award contracts to. So he's probably going to bring up the rear, I would say, just because. This is, again, you tote that line, but I mean, in a such a tough fight to watch, it's hard to really know how good he could be. Like, truthfully, I did not pay attention to a good part of this fight. So maybe there was something I'm missing there. Dana didn't make me think I missed a whole lot here. Now, did his story actually play a part in Dana giving him the contract? Because I thought he doesn't know anything about that.
Dana didn't mention anything during that one, but I heard that part. So I'm going to add it in.
You heard it.
Hey, he gave, what's his name, a contract for his story last year.
Jamal Pogues?
Yeah.
I guess he did. I don't know. I think you're doing some revisionist history on me because I don't remember this shit. So I can't fact check you. But yeah, Dylan Budka gets the contract, and I mean, it was definitely a big surprise.
Yeah,
I will say when I saw your tweet, I did go, I don't know how. Because I definitely don't think this is getting a contract, but how funny it would be if he did give him one. Because Dominic never goes out on a limb like that. Like he had to be very you had to be very confident to put that out there.
Yeah.
Because you do not like to put yourself out there like in no man's land. Like you don't know how your take is going to be.
Point of no return.
If you don't want to put yourself out there and be like, ooh, I don't know how I'm going to be perceived here. So you were like, yo, the fella's got me. Dana's got me. Dylan Budka, back in the line, kid. And Dana said, actually, I like this guy. Worst fight I've ever seen. But you know what?
Come on in.
Come on in. I don't know. I can't say a whole lot here. Co-main event.
Another weird one.
Yeah, another weird one here, man. I mean, he's right, though. Like, Dana is right that really the ref kind of fucked Dana here, to be honest with you. And here comes the names again. Serhiy Sidey. Serhiy Sidey. He gets the first round 2-minute 26-second TKO over Ramon Taveras. Really weird ref stoppage. I mean, that ref was itching to just dive on in. And I mean, it was a great shot, drop Taveras.
Oh yeah, the combo was slick.
But like, I didn't see any sort of eyes rolling back. Didn't see him look discombobulated really. It just looked like he got caught clean and he was down. Like, I mean, it happens. This is MMA. Like, this isn't boxing where you get dropped and you have to separate and your opponent gets 10 seconds. I mean, that ref, you must have thought that Taveras was out cold the way the ref jumped in there. So very confusing. And that's a referee. I can't remember his name, but I've seen him.
I think it was Kevin McDonald.
Yeah, I've seen. He's been around for a while. Like, not usually a guy you see make weird calls like that, but this one it was. And I mean, you can't blame the guy who won here because
Yeah.
I mean, he did his job. He did it well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame Dana for giving him the shot.
Yep.
I also think it was a good call to let Taveras come back in the finale to get a
100%.
second crack at it. I will just say, maybe Kevin should get that shot too.
Listen, look, it's perfect. Taveras, he was bantamweight. Let's do him against Kevin at featherweight. That way he doesn't have to cut the 10 extra pounds after getting knocked out. Kevin versus Taveras. Winner is in. Bang.
So you want him, after getting knocked out, to go up to heavier hitters against a guy in Kevin who was throwing bricks.
No weight cut.
And you know what's funny? Okay, first off, I mean, I'm just going to walk past that because, I mean, this is the guy who said Yana Santos fought pregnant. So I don't even
Here we
wanna-
go. Here we go.
I don't even. Here we go. Yeah, God forbid that I'm the bad guy here.
We had a lady get pulled from this card for finding out she was pregnant. Fun
That's
fact,
crazy,
anyway.
Dominic. Yeah, where did you hear about that? Oh yeah, because I sent you the tweet about it, and then
Only to
literally
say
said
Yana
Yana
Santos.
Santos.
Yeah.
I will just say, after thinking upon my previous comment about, well, Kevin was in a war, maybe you don't bring him back so soon, for a quick turnaround. I mean, Taveras did get technically finished. I mean, I know it wasn't like it was a pretty bad stoppage,
Not
but
down,
he's being
though, at
turned
least.
around. Yeah, I mean, he's
Yeah.
being turned around in 5 weeks. Why can't Kevin be turned around that
Yeah.
quickly?
Yeah.
It's all splitting hairs. Like, if Dana didn't do it for either one, we'd be sitting here just going, well, hopefully both these guys get a shot in the future.
Yeah.
It's like Dana does something nice for one guy, and I'm sitting here going, well, why didn't you do it nice for the other guy? It's
Yeah.
like
Right.
I'm being that guy right now. So I'll rescind the complaint. But yeah, I like the way Dana kind of handled this situation. He kind of got fucked by Kevin McDonald, though.
Yeah. Not literally.
And then
What?
definitely not literally.
Yeah.
I'm sure if it was, somehow old Dylan Danis would find a way to make it about Logan Paul's fiance. Main event time, Dominic.
Yes.
205 pounds. Brendson Ribeiro comes in a 7-1 underdog, and he gets the first round knockout of Bruno Lopes, 3 minutes 47 seconds in. Boy, I wish I bet on Contender Series, man, because that would have been a nice little payday right there.
That's a nice
So
way to spend a Tuesday.
What'd you think of old Ribeiro here? 205 pounder, definitely a weight class that could use some more prospects. Did you like what you saw here? A lot of swinging and banging, maybe?
See, yeah, this wasn't the most technical thing, but maybe 205, Ribeiro being in that weight class may play a factor in the power rankings here in a couple of minutes. But this was great while it lasted. It was fun while it lasted. Bruno Lopes was undefeated. So Ribeiro, of course, was a huge underdog. Also hands him his first professional loss. The most experience of any fighter on the card, much like the main eventer last week with Prades. 15 wins, 5 losses, and no contest. 100% finish rate. 26 years old as well. Talent, young, power, finishes, excitement. Light heavyweight. Booyah.
Boy, that was really clear because he did the old Kevin from The Office.
Why waste time? Say lot word when few word do trick.
Yeah, no, this was an electric performance. It seemed like Bruno Lopes, I don't know if he just didn't respect his opponent here, but he kind of came in very reckless the entire time, trying to get that one-hitter quitter shot, and he ended up on the map staring up into the stars himself. I mean, you could see it coming, not necessarily that Lopes would be the one doing it, but you could just tell the way these guys were swinging. I mean, even before they started throwing the haymakers, man, they were throwing these nasty, hard leg kicks. You were like, I don't think this fight's going that long.
No.
And once they were really just in the pocket, not a whole lot of head movement. But you know what, man? I like the fire of this Ribeiro guy. I like what Dana mentioned there, that little tidbit about he's trying to kind of take care of Ramon Taveras. He's got this guy Ribeiro walking past him going like, watch this. Like, I'm going to show you something here.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that's a 7-1 underdog. And he actually goes in there and knocks out Bruno Lopes in less than 5 minutes. So definitely the guy who had the biggest rise of the night, I would say,
Yeah.
at least. I mean, you come in that big of an underdog and you put on that kind of showing. I mean, whose stock could be higher, comparatively speaking, than
There's no better way to
Ribeiro?
finish the show. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, Dominic, all 5 winners get a contract, but will the Joeys feel the same?
Mm-hmm.
So, number 5, Dylan Budka,
Dylan Budka, number 5. Yep.
does he get a contract?
I would not have. Yeah.
I will agree. It does seem, I will admit now in hindsight, it seems a little unfair because I did not fully engage in the entire fight, but felt like I saw enough to.
Man.
I mean, I was still watching it. I was just maybe on my phone a little bit. I mean, I was waiting for something to kind of
Exactly.
happen, you know.
Yeah.
Number 4, I mean, not just cut by default. It feels like Serhiy's Sidey has to kind of be number 4, right?
Yep. That was 4 for me as well. None,
But
not to his detriment.
Do you give him the contract though, based off what you saw?
Oh man, see, this was the tough one for me. I feel like the other 3 was easy contract wise. This one for me struggled with. I feel like I would lean no more often than saying yes. That was a clean combo. I'll still say no. I would say no and have him back later alongside with Taveras. Not against each other per se, but in a way, I feel like both of them got screwed. Yes, he won here, but he kind of didn't get that full shine that he wanted as well. So I'd say no, bring him back at the end.
Yeah, I'm sure he is upset that Dana gave him the contract. Wishes he would have gotten another crack at it just to really show the people what he's capable of.
Yeah.
This is tough. This is tough because I really like the way Dana went about it. I'm assuming people on Contender Series make less than a guy if you get signed to the UFC contract. I'm assuming you get a slight pay bump. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I'll just say this. I'll say I'll give him the contract. I like the way Dana handled it, so I'll say I'll give it to him. If I was actually in Dana's shoes, would I feel differently? I don't know. It's hard in this situation. You don't see a lot of these on Contender Series, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Like surprisingly, from what I can remember, there hasn't been a lot of those like imagine if Kevin had gotten the nod on the scorecards. Just same fight, but he gets the nod. Like we haven't had a lot of like screwy decisions.
You're right. Yeah.
A lot of these weird finishes that really, but this happens, it seems like every card on a UFC fight night or pay-per-view. So because of that, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I'll let him get a shot in the UFC. But he's still coming in at number 4 by default. All right, number 3.
I had Silva at 3.
Oh, you had Silva. Okay.
I struggled with that one. Yeah, the spot.
So I had Brendson Ribeiro here.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
This is, again, it's very tough because I know what you're going to say here, and this is exactly how I've raised people the last few weeks. He fights at light heavyweight.
Yeah.
And light heavyweight needs guys like this, and he looked really good. He was a big underdog. But if I'm going to split hairs between what I saw from Barbosa, Silva, and Ribeiro, I feel like Silva and Barbosa showed more here that more of what I saw out of their games is less due to the matchup. I feel like Ribeiro's success here, a lot of it hinged on the matchup he had with Bruno Lopes, a guy who came in very reckless, wild into the pocket, looking to also land that one-hitter shot. For a guy who was a 7-1 underdog, that's kind of the perfect matchup for you because that gives you that puncher's chance, right?
Yeah.
For all I know, he's got a lot more to offer. But
true.
For now, I'm going to put him number 3. Still give him the contract, of course. I think the other 2 right now, I've seen more out of them that makes me think they could be. I think the other 2 showed they could actually be threats to some of those lower level UFC roster members of their weight classes. While Ribeiro, jury's still out.
Yeah, I feel like if it weren't for my number 1 and number 2 in a traditional week, I would have had Silva probably higher due to he did it against a very good opponent in Kevin, who was 21 years old, but very well rounded and put together at such a young age. It was a back and forth fight. We got to see the most out of him as compared to all the other contract winners. But I don't know. There was something about it that I'd prioritize the other 2 finishes above him, and maybe it is the weight class thing that we're going to talk on. But regardless, Silva looked great. But it's interesting you had Ribeiro at 3.
How about number 2 for you?
I did Barbosa, Dione Barbosa 2.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. I also had Barbosa at 2. So really, we're only flipping 1 and 3 here.
Yeah.
But Barbosa deserves her flowers. She looked really good. I probably would have had her at 2 either way. But you mentioning the potential fact that she might have been a judo Olympian really kind of caught me off guard. I didn't hear that. Because I was just walking away going, wow, she's really slick with her submissions and whatnot. Looked really good. But if she can use some of, obviously Ronda Rousey is kind of the comparison that immediately jumps to mind. And I'm not necessarily going to throw that kind of expectation on her, but we just seen that work in the UFC.
Yeah.
So I think that there's room for her, especially early on against some of these lower level women's flyweights. I think she could have a lot of success.
Yes, 100%. I think it's fun to have additions keep coming in for a division that is thriving right now.
Okay, so then number 1, I had Gene Silva.
And I had Ribeiro. It was the light heavyweight, the underdog story, the experience that he has while still being relatively young into the game. 100% finish rate, man. I feel like finish rate like that goes a long way at light heavyweight. I mean, just look at what we saw a couple days ago with Volkan Ozdemir and the debuting Guskov. Like, fights get finished at a high clip. You have to have the ability to finish fights. Ribeiro showed it. Can he show it against the higher level guys at 205? Time will tell.
Yeah, he definitely deserves the opportunity to find out. For me, Gene Silva, I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that his opponent is also a guy, we talked about this maybe last week with the fight.
I think it was, yeah.
They both kind of scream UFC caliber to me. Now, Dana did make a good point about maybe Kevin being a little bit limited, but damn, that was just a lot of fun watching that fight on the feet. And it wasn't, they were hard shots, they were landing, but again, it didn't get to that swing and bang, like kind of messy brawl.
Right.
Like it was a very calculated brawl, you know.
Yeah.
It was just very, very easy on the eyes to watch. And for these two to be already kind of fighting at that caliber, there's definitely some featherweights that I could see a guy like Gene Silva being able to put away maybe easier than he did Kevin here by unanimous decision.
I like that. Some fun scraps for him in the future at 145.
Dominic's voice always gets so horny when I say something good. It creeps every time I hear you in my ears, like, yeah, that's so. I'm like, Jesus, dude, like, fucking, are you wearing pants over there? Like, God,
will not be shown on camera.
Yeah. Right. So make sure to comment below. Let us know who stood out to you from this week of Contender Series. Like and subscribe, of course. Ring the bell so you never miss a video. Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram, on TikTok, on X. I'm gonna have to try to remember to say that.
It's a learning curve.
At the BAJ MMA. Just make sure you don't get on Dom's bad side, people, because he sends one tweet. It's like there's an anime called like the Death Note. That's Dominic. You write your name in the book, boom, you're dead. So we'll be here at this time next week. Have a great week. We will see you then.